Next session we have one of our great supporters of today's conversation, Tom Polen, who's chairman and CEO of Becton Dickinson and Company, to talk about the invisible infrastructure, how we're looking at AI innovation in healthcare companies. Thank you so much. You know, I told you all today that I was going to buy you drinks at 5 o'clock. It's actually not true. Tom's buying the drinks.
Sounds
okay. Great. Tom's going to buy the drinks.
Have to.
But I don't know how much of this you've caught today, but we're having a good time.
Yes.
We're also having a serious time. I mean, we're kind of looking at, both the challenges, the realities, but also the opportunities. I would like you, Tom, to give the room an understanding of the vital key role that BD plays in this healthcare ecosystem. And by the way, thank you for supporting this conference on Bold Bets. And so give them a quick picture, but then really what I want to talk about is how you see technology and kind of an AI kind of creating a bump up in what we're able to do and how we ought to be thinking about the healthcare ecosystem.
Sure. Again, thanks for having me, and obviously very pleased to support who's watching. I love seeing the logo behind everyone's head from the green room. So if you're not familiar with BD, I would consider, and I think most hospital CEOs would consider us the most consequential medical technology company in America. And the reason for that is 9 out of 10 people going into a hospital will be touched by our products. So think about like a syringe. 70% of all healthcare requires something as basic as a syringe to be delivered. 90% of all syringes in America we make. We make them in Nebraska. We make them in Connecticut. 70% of all IV catheters, which are pretty much in every patient's arm, to deliver the therapies that we've been talking about, we make in Salt Lake City, Utah. We also make advanced things like the robotics that are running Amazon pharmacies, right? Retail pharmacies that are shipping drugs to your home. We make those, implantable stents, grafts, AI devices that are monitoring patients. So we're about $20 billion in revenue. We make 35 billion devices a year at 27 manufacturing plants across America. We have other plants outside of the U.S. But again, our scale is unmatched. 190 countries around the world, 35 billion devices. We touch every human on the planet, roughly 5 times a year. So,
wow, that's staggering. So how is AI changing the game for you?
It's a very exciting time, both in the company that helps us drive efficiencies and productivity. 2/3 of our associates are in our manufacturing plants, so we use it there. We use it in our R&D processes. But when it comes to patient care, we really see it having breakthrough transformation on both the cost and the quality. A few ways that we're using AI. We use AI as an example we talked about, and the congressman just spoke about, the pharmacy. So in the future, and I was on the board of Walgreens before we took it private, and in fairness, over time, I would imagine 10 years from now, not many people here will be going into your retail pharmacy to pick up your prescription. Right? If you're going to be on statins or GLP-1s for the rest of your life, those should just be delivered to your house. And those will be robots using AI as well. That'll be checking every pill to make sure it's the exact number of pills, the exact no medication errors, right? Stats are, I think, 4% of prescriptions at a retail pharmacy have errors because you don't count pills perfectly and put them in amber vials. Like we do that with 100%. That's AI doing that. In more advanced ways, like we use AI in the ICU. So as an example today, monitoring technologies that are looking at people's blood pressure, not like you would use with a blood pressure cuff, but we look at it pulse by pulse of your heart, every single beat, and how your blood pressure is changing using advanced technologies. It's hemodynamic monitoring. We now have AI applications that are approved by the FDA that will say, your blood pressure is about to drop 15 minutes from now. So before the patient alarms go off and harm's happening to the patient, we're predicting therapy. And now we have technologies that are working, putting AI in our pumps that will auto-adjust the infusion to the patient so that, again, that side effect never happens and the nurse never even needs to run in and try to prevent it from happening. But that there'll be autonomous systems, right, augmenting patient care. Because today, right, the way that things work is you'll get a doctor will say, take this medication every 4 hours in the hospital. And then your body gets out of line, alarms go off on the sensors on you, and then they try to get you back in line. I mean, in the meanwhile, bad things are happening to your body. Your blood pressure's not meant to swing, for example, right? It hurts organs, it hurts your brain, it hurts a lot of things. And what should really happen is someone say, not take this drug every so often, keep this patient's vitals in this range, keep their blood pressure 120/80. And AI and the technologies, the devices will be continually adapting and keeping the patients perfectly. That's not that far away. I mean, those are things in our innovation pipeline that we have submission dates to FDA in our plan. So it's really revolutionizing care and how it's delivered.
You know, about 10 years ago, I interviewed then Google CEO Eric Schmidt, and the talk was artificial intelligence in the coming era. It was a long time ago.
Sure.
And I asked him, what would make Americans fall in love with AI? And he said, the first thing is going to be much better health diagnostics. And the second was going to have to do with fraud, identity fraud and all that stuff. I don't know if he was right on number two, but on number one, clearly you see a revolution in health diagnostics. I mean, the things you're describing are part of that. And I don't know if there's wide recognition of the advancements there, but there is just a huge shift, a huge improvement in health diagnostics. But one of the things that's weird for me is how bad the pharmaceutical industry and the medical health industry is at bragging about that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think many people are walking around realizing the stack. Is it because they don't want to say how bad things were before? Or why do you think?
It's a good question. I do think generally you get, like if I look at associates at BD, we have 800 nurses that work at BD. Yeah. We have hundreds of pharmacists. We have hundreds and hundreds of doctors. They just focus on the patient, right? It's why they're in our industry. You get people, we have a saying in BD, right? We're very blessed to be able to fulfill our life's work through our work life. And I think generally that's a concept across healthcare where they just focus, it's great, and they just keep focusing on more patient impact rather than pause and brag about it. It's just not in the industry kind of genetics. It's probably something we should do.
I do think it would help people understand the value of AI if more people talked about, these net benefits as you were just doing.
I think our customers they all know about it, obviously, extremely excited about it. And again, also on labor, you talked about shortages. I was with a group the other day, and the biggest shortage area, we talk about healthcare jobs are growing in the U.S. Many people aren't necessarily aware that those aren't the doctor jobs growing. It's not the nurses' jobs growing. In fact, it's 3/4 of new healthcare jobs in America are home health aides, right? Mm-hmm. And that's only going to continue to increase, right? As people are aging,
right.
Finding home health aides is extremely difficult, and that's where the jobs are booming. It's not improbable that we'll all have humanoids at our house as our home health aides. And when you ask patients, that's actually what they want.
They want a humanoid robot supporter helper.
If you need someone to assist you going into the restroom or taking a shower, do you want a human, or would you rather have a really effective humanoid that's helping you do that? I think you're going to see that in the future.
That's fascinating. Well, part of this is in Make It Look. We didn't coordinate on this at all. And do you know Eric Topol?
Sure.
So Eric Topol is a friend of mine.
Great book, yeah.
I don't know if any of you know Eric Topol. Eric Topol is he is a very interesting doctor. He's at Scripps, and he is challenging, all of the kind of standard practices of how doctors deliver health. And one of his favorite lines is the stethoscope is stupid. Like it doesn't do anything. It's silly to have it. He wears them for performative doctor stuff. And I'm just interested, not only, well, I'm glad you know Eric, but interested in that. But as you look at the devices you're actually producing and building and evolving, are you going through a constant change? Are we going to see a change in the kinds of ways through all the gadgets and widgets you make? Are those going to change? Because I think Eric is right, yes, but I'm not sure.
And he has a very good book. He's a futurist in healthcare. That recommend to read his book if you haven't. For sure. So, for example, we invented. Every single one of you have definitely had our devices inside of you. If you've ever had your blood drawn, as an example, 90% of all blood in America is drawn with our needles that fit in your body. And the whole concept of the little tubes that evacuate, that we invented that concept.
You talk about it so enthusiastically.
We're proud of it, right?
Yeah.
But that will all change, right, in the future. We're now working on technology that you'll draw your blood by yourself at your house. Huh. And so that will shift. You won't have to go into a lab and have someone stick something in your vein. 10 years from now, you'll be drawing blood by yourself at your house and just call in and someone.
Why 10 years away? Why not 2 years away?
I think look, healthcare changes slow. Technology is becoming available in the nearer term, but it's very rare to see healthcare shift. There's big infrastructure, even things as simple as the infrastructure of all the lines that fit certain size tubes has to get changed out to actually do things at scale, right? Big infrastructure's been built, but that's all coming, right? We have in the hospitals, the infusion platforms that really put big guardrails and safety around complex infusions. Again, we have technologies that are bringing that into the home. We have wearables that are in our pipeline. We have technologies that we invented. PureWick, for example, is one of our products for urinary incontinence in hospitals. That's all. Fastest growing segment for us is helping treat urinary incontinence in the home. And now we have mobile versions that people will be able to walk around the streets of DC and manage that condition. So we're investing very heavily. There's actually 3 areas that we invest about $1 billion a year, 3 areas that we're investing in. The biggest, number 1, is smart connected care, the use of AI, robotics, informatics to transform the cost and quality of care, which we've talked about. The second one is enabling care to shift to new care settings, including specifically the home. And the third one is we invest heavily in technologies that improve outcomes for patients with chronic disease. Right? Devices, like you see drugs now, devices are changing the outcomes for patients with chronic disease.
How are you simulating that? Because one of the things that I know you're thinking about is, what do you do when you've got not enough nurses? I mean, we're getting older. The caregiving dimension for a lot of what's going on with older Americans is really tough on families. You've got a shortage of nurses and you've got a shortage of just about everything. Yeah. And I'm interested in how BD in that space, because it's basically stressed out. My brother's a nurse in an elder care facility in the Eastern Shore of Maryland. They're stressed out, never have enough people, double shifts, crazy times. I mean, it's unsustainable. So as you're beginning to simulate out like a war game, how are you going to deal with those shortages?
So I grew up on the Eastern Shore of Maryland.
Where?
Just outside of Easton, Maryland.
Okay.
Very, very, maybe close to where you're.
Very good.
In any case.
I knew I liked you.
The area well.
Yeah. I'll have you over for a crab fest.
I would love that. You can't get crabs I live in New Jersey now, and for some reason there's this line around Delaware where you can't get blue crabs above it, so I always have to go south to get crabs. In any case.
I get the crabs off my dock.
Okay, yeah, I grew up with lots of chicken necks going out on rowboats. So, but back to the question. I got so excited about talking about crabs. What was the question again?
Basically stressed out, not enough nurses, not enough things, the future gaming, simulating.
And this is where AI is going to come in, right? Is the reality is each of us have today in our pockets, with OpenAI,
right,
basically some of the smartest specialists in the world. I mean, it's amazing if I had a rash on my skin, you take a picture of it, and then you go to the doctor afterwards, it gives you pretty much the exact same feedback on those. It's unbelievable what it has. Those humanoids I talked about, of course, they'll be able to see you, and they'll have the knowledge of pretty much all specialists simultaneously to give feedback on what they're looking at. That's coming. It's not a question of if. It's coming, and it's not that far away. Companies like BD, again, we're very focused on that home health side, whether or not it's the robotics that we have that are enabling drugs to be delivered to people's homes or for them to pick up medications in rural communities in new ways, to those products that help them enable things like blood collection to be done at home in simpler ways so they don't need to leave their home or suffer less in the process of drawing blood, particularly for people with difficult venous access. Again, all these technologies are coming to help enable that. So I'm extremely optimistic. And you mentioned something extremely important, right? Moving care into the home, we talk about clinician burnout. There's a real issue of family burnout when it goes to the home as well, too. And so technology has to play a really important role to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, I see it and I hear it, and it is a huge deal. And I just sort of see it as this thing that's going to pop at some point. I don't know how, but I just sort of see it. And I think, we had a guy from NIH, from the Institute of Aging here, Luigi Ferrugi, a little while ago, and was talking about it. It comes back to this point of how do we take aging in place, or, that elder part of our lives, and kind of turn them around. So, they also have to be part of the bold bets picture, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. There's technologies, I heard you talk about telemedicine just a bit ago. Yeah. There's some amazing AI technologies that we partner with that are used in hospitals that are coming into the home now, right? And they basically are cameras that are in a hospital room. They could be in your room at home. And they're watching the patient. I was just at Mayo in Jacksonville 2 weeks ago, and fall risk is a real issue. And they have AI cameras in the room that as soon as someone starts moving in certain ways, it calls and says, please stop, do not move, we are sending in support. And they've had 0 falls since implementing that technology. Or it can watch how often the patient's moving and then give ulcer risk scores because they're not rotating properly. And please, patient, please rotate. You haven't rotated enough. Please move to this side. And again, dramatically reduce ulcer rates. Nurses can pop up real time on the screen and engage with the patients when AI is flagging to a nurse, hey, the patient's doing X or Y. Big risk nurses, actually, it's very not well known. You're more likely to be assaulted as a nurse in a hospital than you are as a security guard in a jail, right? And the reality is you've got people, of course, just whether or not it's a family member or someone in delirium. There's 7 million people that are in hospitals who face delirium. You're on narcotics. Your body's been traumatized in the hospital often. People don't know what they're walking into in a room, right? These AI systems are now literally pinging nurses and giving alerts. They're watching and seeing high delirium risk in this room. They're aware. Maybe they get the right support other than just themselves being surprised when they walk in. So it's amazing it's just at the early cusp of what's happening. It's at a 1 right now,
right?
And we're on a journey to a 10 plus. So I get very excited, and that all of that can be moving into the home as well.
You know, just as we wrap this up, and I'm thinking here for a minute that you're a 100-year-old company, so it's been interesting. Lilly's 150 years old, the country's 250 years old. You're a 100-year-old company.
129, yep.
129. Oh, it said
28. Yep.
Okay, my apologies. Notes were wrong, but at least you're over 100 years, so we'll getting you around there. But I think it's interesting as you look at technology and change and what you've become as a company, et cetera. We've had talk today about wearables and data and all these other kinds of health monitoring systems that can be aggregated and become part of the empowerment of the patient, basically, in this process. Where are you in that picture?
Yeah, from a wearable perspective, we have some that are more, again, in the high acuity setting. Mm-hmm. We have some in areas like urology, urinary incontinence. I think the bigger thing is we partner with essentially every major pharma company in the world. So most biologic drugs are delivered in our devices, including GLP-1s.
Right.
And as you think about whether or not it's the ease of use of auto-injectors and self-injectors, but many new biologics are coming out may need 10, 15, 20-minute infusion times.
Is the BD logo on everything?
It's not on anything that's with a pharma. It would be the pharma company logo, not ours. So
I was going to go look because
No, and we consider those confidential, those agreements, so we don't talk about specifics. But we're very much into those wearables for drug delivery. And so, again, pharma companies develop the molecule. They look to us to develop the device that helps deliver it to the patient in the most effective way. And we spend a lot of time, understanding what's the dexterity of someone with arthritis putting on a wearable, and how do we need to change the configuration of that device to make it practical, and how's that different than someone with dementia who's trying to need to manage that, and how do we design devices different? We go and we live and spend time. Our scientists and R&D teams are spending time in the patient's homes with them, dozens of them, understanding that, building it into our wearables and our devices. And you can't do it any other way.
Are we using any of your devices at 5 o'clock to serve drinks?
Probably not.
No injectables, nothing along those lines. But will you be there at 5 o'clock?
I won't be there, unfortunately. I have to head back. But
okay, well, your other team hopefully.
Our other team will be there, and I think it's giving a.
Who are your team?
We've got a team right back there.
You're going to be there at 5 o'clock, okay? Because I want to drink badly. So I want to, first of all, I want to thank any good Eastern Shore pal. I mean, I'm going to invite you to Chestertown, and I will serve up some crab for you. But Tom Polen, Chairman and CEO of Becton, Dickinson and Company, BD. So now you know, even if you are getting one of those shots or whatever, even if it doesn't say BD, BD is inside. All right, there you go.
Very good.
Thank you, Tom.
Very nice to meet you
so much. Thanks very much.
I used to work
for hosting us.
Yeah, very good to meet you.